carving, we want to just stop, pause, reflect a little bit on what we're going to do next. This is quite a deep carving, quite dramatic, so the work does go round the corner. What we do need to mark though are the points, the positions, the areas on the surface where we won't be taking wood away, high spots in other words. They're marked on the working drawing that you can download, but I'm going to draw them again and I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking as I do it. And at the end of this lesson and all the other lessons, we'll put in some stills of the finished carving so you can see the side view and so on, and that'll give you a better view of what we're doing. So let me just draw these high spots in. The main high spots on the carving will be the forehead and the nose. From the forehead, the leaves go back and turn and keep fairly high. From the nose, this chin part all round and go lower, and of course we have eye sockets in here. So the high spots will be the nose, so this area here. We certainly don't want to take wood away from there. And then really from about here, where the brow curls up, across to this leaf which is high, this leaf which is high, and then back down to this side here. So something like this. All this area here is wood that we're not going to take away. And what we're saying here is then that the carving rounds over and comes down and sinks in from these areas. So mark your piece of wood like this, and then we're ready to put a chisel into it. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is to take wood down here and across here, a lot of that. I'm using a middle gouge, a bit like 7 or 8, just over 1 inch wide. So starting here, all this wood has to come away. You can see that just the pressure of my mallet work makes this whole thing move on the background, but you have to keep adjusting it. Okay, so the good way of working here is, first of all, keep the centre line, so make sure that's redrawn. And then what I do is, because each side is fairly symmetrical, you can work this side and then redraw it from your first side. And to help you, you can use calipers. So, for example, I know there to there is going to be this curve here, and it's going to come, and I can measure that bit there if I want to don't want to do it by eye, measure that bit across here. Take a little reading, so I know it comes around here. So I can draw this curve in again, and then that goes down. So I can redraw this from one side to the other. Where I've taken off more, I can of course go back to my original drawing and calipering off from here. I can redraw these positions. So I'll redraw this side in now, and then I'll start on the other side. I've drawn in the lines now to match the other side. And then I can take this wood off here and redraw it by this side. So in this way I can go backwards and forwards. Notice that I've thinned the nose down. I'm keeping the high spot here. There is an eyeball in there, but this point here, this level, that level represents the height of the cheek. So I don't want to go further back there. And in fact, that cheek is going to go underneath this leaf here. So I need to keep some height there. Then the whole sense of this leaf must go round here because there's a cheek underneath it. It's very important that we keep the anatomy as we go along. So I've now drawn this. I'm going to start working on this side here. So I've drawn in this side to match this side. I've got to the same depth each side. We can take a bit of wood from down here to start separating this leaf from that leaf. Make sure that this is curved here. Don't go straight with an angle. This is all a nice curve and will be deeper when we get the eye set in. So now we can leave that for the moment and we can look at this bit so we get the whole piece moving as one. So here this is the high spot here, but this leaf there, behind here, this leaf has to come back a bit, and this leaf behind this edge here. So we can take wood away from here, and start curving that round like that, and we can take wood from here, so that we start separating this leaf from the background. Okay, so I want you to get the carving to this stage. You can see that I've taken this leaf back and given it a bit of a twist, and the same with this one, and then this one's set back in. So it's a little bit, but again it's got a little twist, and I have redrawn various points. If you look at the side view here, you can see I've come quite far down to the back here, but not so far down here, because this needs to be quite undercut, so that the whole carving is angled like this. So it's sort of cone shaped really. This is the furthest part down the bottom, this is the highest. So don't take too much wood away from here. And these pencil lines, they're just guidelines at the end of the day. We can alter these as we go along, depending on what we find. So if you get it to this stage, this is like a first pass. And then in the next lesson, we'll refine this like a second pass. So the Bosting really takes place over the 2 stages.